Hey guys, I'm Theobald Hedman and you're watching Southern Ingenuity. Welcome to part 2 of this video series where I'm doing a kitchen renovation for my mama. In part 1, I removed this old countertop and replaced these cabinets with an enclosed shelving area. Doing so eliminated the place where my mom and dad sit to eat their daily meals. Now they both like to watch TV while they're eating, but mama doesn't want a TV in the dining room and the kitchen is just a little too small for a traditional table. So in this video, I'll be repurposing the old countertop to replace the top of this storage table and then modify it to include a small pull-out eating table. I start out by cutting off a piece of the countertop 35 inches long. This will be the new top for the storage table. Applying masking tape or painter's tape will help prevent the laminate from splintering or flaking off while it's being cut. Here's a little tip for you. Measure the distance from the edge of your saw's base to the side of the blade. Then subtract this distance from the target length of your finished cut. Mark this new length on the workpiece and attach a straight edge aligned with those points. This will give you a secure edge to follow with your saw for a smooth and straight cut that's equal to your target length. Next, I measure and cut the section that will become the pull-out eating table. Then I cut some small furring strips to even out the edge thickness of the countertops. A thin layer of glue is applied to each furring strip before clamping it into position. The strips are then tacked to the countertop with a brad nailer. After all of the furring strips have been installed, the glue is allowed to dry overnight. Now these countertops are over 20 years old, so finding matching laminate for the sides would have been an arduous challenge, and probably expensive as well. So I decided to try to salvage the laminate from some of the leftover scrap pieces. I use an iron to melt the glue underneath the laminate. Then I slowly pull the laminate away from the substrate material. This piece is the backsplash that I cut off earlier. It will provide enough laminate to cover both sides of the pull-out eating table. The laminate for the right-hand side of the new tabletop will be taken from the unused scrap end of the old countertop. This video was recorded during the height of the cicada apocalypse of 2024, and if you listen closely to this clip, you can still hear them even through the cement block walls of the shop. Okay, that's enough of the cicadas. Let's get some more music. Removing the laminate from the top surfaces of the countertop was considerably more challenging than it was to remove it from the side. I couldn't just peel it away with my hand like before. I had to use a hacksaw blade and rock it back and forth to slowly separate the laminate from the particle board. After removing all of the laminate pieces, I use a wood chisel to scrape away the excess glue from the back side of each one. Back inside the house, I put painter's tape on the countertops in the places where I don't want to get any glue. I also put plastic under the work area to catch any accidental drips or spills. I put a light coat of contact cement on each side of the countertops and on the back side of each laminate piece and let it sit for 15 minutes. I then give it all a second coat and let it sit for an additional 15 minutes before removing the painter's tape.
Is there any way I can help?
Say a prayer. If you've ever used contact cement before, then you know it can have a pretty stout grip right from the start. So this part had me a little bit nervous with the possibility of accidentally misaligning the laminate and having to use the iron to get it separated again. I intentionally cut the pieces oversized to give me more room for error, knowing that the excess could be trimmed and filed down to the proper height. The one exception was the piece that I removed from the edge. It was already trimmed to the correct dimensions, so there was basically no room for error with it. With the laminate glued into place, I go back out to the shop to begin modifying the table. The butcher block style top will be removed, trimmed, and then used as a storage shelf on the bottom of the table. The next day, I bring the countertops back out to the shop to trim and finish the laminate. I'll be using a small router equipped with a guide roller to trim the excess to within about a 32nd of an inch above the surface. I start on the bottom side first to make sure that the guide roller is set to an acceptable height and to get a feel of how to hold and move the router for best results. If I make a mistake here, it won't be near as obvious as it would have been on the top surface. I use a fine-tooth wood rasp to bring the edge laminate down to the surface height, making sure to hold it at a slight angle to avoid scratching the surface laminate. It's a slow and tedious process, but necessary for a proper finish. Next, I make some mounting rails from a piece of 2x4. Then I cut some spacers to help align the linear bearings to which I'll attach the pull-out eating table. Some 1/4 inch plywood is used to set the spacing for the tabletop. This ensures enough clearance for proper operation. The linear rail is attached to the mounting rail and checked for proper fit and alignment with the tabletop. Then I use 4 drywall screws to secure the tabletop to the mounting rails. The next day, I remove the tabletop to give the mounting rails a coat of white paint. Then I position the stationary tabletop and secure it with 6 screws.
Do I need a baby? No, good. That's just cute to take a baby. Why'd you scratch out my name down there?
I didn't want to get accidentally filmed and put on.
Oh, yeah.
I was a little concerned about the stability of the table, so I fashioned a counterweight and attached it to the back side. This, along with the extra weight of the toaster oven on top, was enough to stabilize the table for normal everyday use. With this custom-made table now in place, the kitchen isn't overcrowded with a traditional table, and Mom and Dad can still watch their TV while they're eating. I'm Theobald Hedman. Thanks for watching Southern Ingenuity.